The war had been going on for 3 months now, and Ambassador Varen Stale knew his people were losing. He stood in the command center deep beneath the surface of Talaxis Prime's largest moon, watching the screens that showed the destruction above. Red dots marked Korath ships moving through his home system like hungry predators. Green dots showed Zilani vessels, and there were far too few of them left. Varen's hands shook as he held the communication device. His species, the Zilani, had always been peaceful. They grew food, built beautiful cities, and spent their time learning about the stars. They had never wanted to hurt anyone. But the Korath did not care about that. The Korath Empire had come without warning 6 months ago. Their message had been simple: surrender or die. The Zilani had tried to talk, tried to find a peaceful solution. The Korath response was to destroy 3 major cities on Zilani Prime as a demonstration of their power. Now Zilani children hid in underground bunkers while their parents searched for scraps of food. The Korath hunted them like animals, taking some as slaves and killing the rest for sport. Varen had seen the reports. He had seen the pictures. His own family was somewhere on the planet below, if they were still alive. "Sir, we have another refugee ship requesting docking permission," said Communications Officer Nala Chen, one of the few humans working with the Zilani fleet. She had come to their space 2 years ago as part of a small cultural exchange program. Now she was trapped here with them. "How many ships does that make today?" Varen asked. 17, sir. All carrying wounded and families. The medical bay is already full." Varen closed his eyes. They had no more room, no more supplies, and no more hope. The Galactic Council had received their requests for help weeks ago. The responses had been polite but useless. The Altarian Republic offered to hold a memorial service for the Zilani people after they were extinct. The Centauri Trade Union suggested they negotiate with the Korath, as if there was anything left to negotiate about. The Vegan Collective had sent a strongly worded letter to the Korath Empire asking them to stop. The Korath had responded by destroying another city. "Sir," Nala said quietly, "perhaps we should try sending the distress signal on wider frequencies, not just to the council members but to everyone." Varen looked at the young human woman. She was small compared to most humans, but even she was taller and stronger than any Zilani. Her species came from a world they called Earth, which was classified as dangerous by galactic standards. Most civilized species avoided deathworlds like that one. "What good would that do?" Varen asked. "If the major powers will not help us, why would smaller species risk themselves?" Nala thought for a moment. "On my world, we have a saying. Sometimes help comes from the places you least expect it." Varen had nothing left to lose. "Very well. Prepare a general distress signal. Send it to every inhabited system we know about." Nala worked at her console for several minutes. When she looked up, her face was serious. "Sir, I want to make sure the message is clear. What exactly should we say?" Varen stared at the screens showing his dying homeworld. Korath landing craft were touching down in the capital city right now. Soon there would be nothing left of his civilization except memories and ruins. "Tell them the truth," he said. "Tell them we are dying. Tell them our children starve in hidden bunkers while monsters prowl our cities. Tell them that any who hear this, we beg for sanctuary, for aid, for hope." Nala nodded and began typing. When she finished, she looked at the message on her screen. "Sir, should I include our location?" "Yes. If someone is willing to help us, they need to know where to find us." "And if the Korath intercept the signal and use it to track down our refugee ships?" Varen was quiet for a long moment. "Then we will die a little faster than we would have anyway." Nala pressed the transmission button. The signal burst out from their hidden communication array, spreading through space at the speed of light. It would take hours to reach the nearest inhabited systems, days to reach the major galactic powers, and weeks to reach the outer rim territories. 3 hours later, the first responses began coming in. The Altarian Republic acknowledged receipt of the transmission. The Centauri Trade Union offered to facilitate negotiations with the Korath Empire for a small fee. The Vegan Collective promised to include the Zilani situation in their next quarterly report on galactic injustices. Same as before, Nala said, monitoring the incoming messages. Lots of sympathy, no action. More responses came throughout the day. Mining colonies that barely had enough ships to transport ore. Agricultural worlds that could offer food but no protection. Research stations that expressed scientific interest in Zilani culture but could not provide military assistance. By the evening, Varen had lost hope again. The signal had reached dozens of systems and the response was always the same. Everyone was very sorry about the Zilani situation, but no one could actually help. "Sir," Nala said suddenly, "I am getting a response from the outer rim. It is different." "Different how?" "It is very short. Just acknowledgement of receipt and a request for more detailed information about our situation." Varen frowned. "Which system?" Nala checked her records. "It is listed as Sol System. I have never heard of it." "Neither have I. What do the Galactic databases say about them?" Nala spent several minutes searching. "Very little, sir. It says Sul is a small system with one inhabited world called Earth. Population approximately 8 billion. Technology level is listed as developing. There is a note here that says the planet is classified as a Class 12 death world due to extreme environmental dangers. 8 billion people on one world?" Varen was surprised. Most civilized species spread across multiple planets once their population reached even 1 billion. Living in such density usually led to wars and resource conflicts. "Yes, sir. It also says they only achieved space travel recently, about 50 years ago. Then they cannot help us anyway. A young species with limited technology would be no match for the Korath Empire." But something made Varen curious about these humans. What kind of environmental dangers make their world so deadly? Nala read from the database. Extreme weather patterns, seismic activity, dangerous predator species, toxic atmospheric conditions in many regions, frequent asteroid impacts, solar radiation. The list goes on for several pages, sir. And 8 billion of them live there. Successfully? Apparently so. Varen thought about this. His own people had evolved on a peaceful world with mild weather, abundant food, and no dangerous predators. The Zilani had never needed to fight for survival. Perhaps that was why they were so helpless against the Korath now. Send them the detailed information they requested, he decided. If they are willing to listen, we should at least tell them what is happening. Nala prepared a comprehensive report including tactical assessments of Korath military capabilities, current refugee numbers, and the location of remaining Zilani strongholds. She sent it toward the distant Sol system. "Sir," she said when she finished, "even if they wanted to help us, it would take them weeks to travel here. By then we will all be dead or enslaved," Varen finished. "I know. But at least someone will know what happened to us." The next morning brought more Korath attacks and more refugee ships arriving with wounded civilians. The hidden base was running out of everything: food, medical supplies, power cells, and most importantly, places to hide. Then Nala called out from her communication station. "Sir, I am receiving another transmission from Sol System." "What do they say?" Nala stared at her screen with a puzzled expression. "Sir, I think you need to read this yourself." Varen walked over to look at the message. It was short and written in simple galactic standard language. To the Zilani people, "We have received your request for aid. Our fleet is preparing to depart for your location immediately. Estimated arrival time is 21 days. Hold on. Help is coming. Admiral Kate Sullivan, Earth Space Command." Varen read the message 3 times before he could believe what he was seeing. "They are actually coming?" "It seems so, sir, but..." Nala hesitated. "But what?" "Sir, I looked up their fleet capabilities in the databases. They only have a few dozen ships and most of them are small exploratory vessels. The Korath Empire has thousands of warships. This Admiral Sullivan and her people are flying to their deaths." Varen stared at the message for a long time. Finally he spoke. They know that. They have to know that. But they are coming anyway. For the first time in months, Ambassador Varen Stale felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of Earth Space Command headquarters, looking at the holographic display that showed the Zilani star system. The images were not good. Red markers showed Korath ships spread throughout the system, like a disease. Green markers showed the few remaining Zilani vessels, most of them damaged and hiding. How many people are we talking about? She asked Dr. Amy Foster, the head of xenobiology research. Based on the data they sent us, approximately 2 million Zilani civilians are still alive. Most are hiding in underground shelters or refugee camps. Without immediate help, they will all be dead within weeks. Captain Jake Morrison, commander of the ESS Defiant, stepped forward. Admiral, I have been studying the tactical reports. The Korath have over 300 warships in that system. We have 12 ships ready for deep space operations. The math is not in our favor. Colonel Ryan Beck, the head of military planning, nodded grimly. Our intelligence suggests the Korath use standard plasma weapons and energy shields. Their ships are larger than ours and they have more of them. A direct military engagement would be suicide. So you are saying we should not go? Admiral Sullivan asked. I am saying we need to be realistic about our chances, Beck replied. We could lose our entire fleet and still not save a single Zilani civilian. The room fell quiet. Everyone knew. The colonel was right. Earth's Space Navy was new and small. They had been exploring nearby systems and establishing trade routes, not fighting wars against galactic empires. But then Lieutenant Commander Tony Hayes spoke up. He was young for his rank, but he had earned it during the crisis on Mars 3 years ago. Permission to speak freely, Admiral? Granted. We spent centuries fighting each other over differences in skin color, religion, and borders. We fought wars over oil, water, and patches of dirt that meant nothing to anyone except the people who happened to be born there. We killed millions of our own people over stupid reasons that nobody even remembers anymore. Hayes paused and looked around the room. Now we finally have the chance to fight for something that actually matters. Innocent lives. People who never hurt anyone. Who are being murdered just because some aliens think they have the right to do it. If we walk away from this, what does that make us? Admiral Sullivan studied the young officer. What are you suggesting, Commander? I am suggesting that maybe the math does not matter. Maybe some things are worth doing, even if the odds are bad. Our ancestors fought against impossible odds plenty of times. Sometimes they won, sometimes they lost, but they fought when it mattered. Dr. Foster cleared her throat. There is another issue we need to consider. We know almost nothing about Zilani biology. If we do manage to rescue survivors, we may not be able to keep them alive. Their atmosphere requirements, food needs, medical care, all of it is completely unknown. So what do you recommend, Doctor? The Admiral asked. I recommend we go anyway and figure it out as we learn. That is what humans do best, is it not? We adapt. Captain Morrison looked at the star charts again. If we are really going to do this, we need to move fast. Every day we delay means more Zilani civilians die. But Admiral, I have to ask, what makes us think we can succeed where the entire Galactic Council failed? Admiral Sullivan smiled for the first time since receiving the Zilani distress signal. Captain, the Galactic Council did not fail. They never tried. There is a big difference between failing and not trying. She turned to address the entire room. I am not going to order anyone on this mission. This has to be voluntary. We are talking about flying halfway across the galaxy to fight an enemy that outnumbers us 30-1. To save people we have never met from a species we know nothing about. Anyone who wants to volunteer for what might be a suicide mission, stay in this room. Everyone else can leave now with no questions asked. Nobody moved. Admiral Sullivan waited a full minute, then nodded. Very well. We have work to do. I want every available ship ready for departure within 48 hours. Dr. Foster, I want your medical teams working around the clock to prepare for alien refugees. We need portable life support systems that can handle different atmospheric requirements, medical equipment that can adapt to unknown biology, and emergency shelters rated for various environmental conditions. She turned to Colonel Beck. I want every weapon system checked and double-checked. Load every ship with as much ammunition as they can carry. If we are going to fight the Korath Empire, we need to make every shot count. Admiral, Beck said, our weapons were designed for fighting other human ships. We have no idea how effective. They will be against Korath technology. Then we will find out when we get there. Captain Morrison raised his hand. What about the refugee situation? If we do manage to rescue Zilani civilians, where do we take them? We cannot bring them back. To Earth, our government has not approved that kind of immigration program. We will worry about that after we save them, Admiral Sullivan replied. First priority is keeping them alive. Everything else comes second. Dr. Amy Foster spent the next day working with her team to design emergency medical protocols for an unknown alien species. They had some basic information from the Zilani databases, but not enough to be certain about anything. The good news is they breathe a similar atmosphere to us, she told her assistant, Dr. Sam Parker. Slightly higher oxygen content, but our equipment can handle that. The bad news is we have no idea what diseases they might carry, what foods they can eat, or how their bodies will react to human medical treatments. So we prepare for everything and hope for the best? That is exactly what we do. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Ben Taylor worked on modifying the fleet's life support systems. Each ship needed to be able to carry far more people than it was designed for, and some of those people might have very different environmental needs. The Defiant can normally support a crew of 80 for 6 months, he reported to Captain Morrison. If we strip out non-essential equipment and convert cargo bays to temporary living spaces, we might be able to carry 300 refugees for a few weeks. But it will not be comfortable. Comfortable is not the goal, Morrison replied. Alive is the goal. The ESS Mercy, normally a medical research vessel, was converted into a full refugee transport. Dr. Sam Parker would command it during the mission. Her job was to provide medical care for wounded Zilani and coordinate the evacuation of civilians from the war zone. The ESS Retribution, Earth's largest warship, would provide military support under Captain Maria Lopez. She had served in the asteroid belt conflicts and was one of the few human officers with real combat experience. As the 48-hour deadline approached, Admiral Sullivan reviewed the mission parameters one more time. They would jump to the edge of the Zilani system and assess the situation. If possible, they would make contact with Zilani survivors and begin evacuation procedures. If the Korath attacked, they would fight. Admiral, Communication Specialist, Lisa Ward reported, we are receiving updated intelligence from the Zilani. The situation is getting worse. The Korath have begun systematic destruction of the remaining cities on Zilani Prime. They estimate less than 48 hours before all organized resistance collapses. Admiral Sullivan looked at the clock on the wall. They were supposed to depart in 6 hours, but the Zilani did not have 6 hours plus 3 weeks of travel time. Contact all ships, she ordered. We launch in 2 hours. Ready or not, we are going. Captain Morrison approached her privately. Admiral, are you sure about this? We are rushing into a situation we do not understand, against an enemy we have never fought, to save people we have never met. A lot of good humans are going to die. Admiral Sullivan looked out the window at Earth hanging in space below them. Captain, do you know what my grandfather used to tell me when I was a child? No, ma'am. He said that good people die every day, but they die for all kinds of stupid reasons. War, disease, accidents, old age. But sometimes, if you are very lucky, you get the chance to die for something that actually matters. Most people never get that chance. She turned back to him. I would rather die trying to save innocent lives than live knowing I could have helped, but chose not to. 2 hours later, the small Earth fleet departed for the Zilani system. 12 ships carrying fewer than 2,000 humans, flying toward a battle against an empire of millions. As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, Admiral Sullivan broadcast a message to the Zilani survivors. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Earth Fleet. We are coming. Hold on just a little longer. 3 weeks later, they would discover what humans could accomplish when they decided someone was worth saving. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zilani system, and what they saw made Captain Jake Morrison's stomach turn. The beautiful blue-green world that the Zilani called home was covered in smoke clouds. Bright flashes on the surface showed where Korath ships were bombing the last cities. "My God," whispered Dr. Sam Parker from the bridge of the ESS Mercy. "How many people are dying down there right now?" Admiral Kate Sullivan's voice came through the communication system from her flagship. "All ships maintain formation and scan for survivors. We need to locate the Zilani command post that sent the original distress signal." Navigation Officer Alex Kim worked at his console on the ESS Defiant. "Captain, I am picking up massive energy signatures throughout the system. The Korath have at least 200 ships active, maybe more. They have patrol squadrons around every planet and moon." "Any sign of Zilani vessels?" "A few small ships hiding in asteroid fields and behind moons. They appear to be damaged and running silent." Captain Morrison studied the tactical display. Red dots representing Korath ships moved through the system like predators hunting wounded prey. The few green dots showing Zilani vessels were clearly trying to avoid detection. "Communications. Try to reach the Zilani survivors. Use the frequency they gave us in their original message." Communications specialist Lisa Ward adjusted her equipment. "Zilani survivors, this is the Earth Fleet responding to your distress call. Please respond if you can hear this transmission." For several minutes there was only static. Then a weak signal came through the speakers. "Earth Fleet? Earth Fleet? Is that really you?" The voice was Ambassador Varen Stale, broadcasting from his hidden command center. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Defiant. We received your call for help. We are here." There was a long pause. When Varen spoke, again his voice was shaking. "Captain Morrison, I cannot believe you actually came, but you must leave immediately. The Korath have hundreds of warships. You will all be killed." "Ambassador, we did not travel 3 weeks across the galaxy just to turn around and go home. Where are your people? How many survivors do you have?" "We estimate 1.8 million civilians are still alive, scattered across dozens of underground shelters and refugee camps. But Captain, the Korath hunt them every day. Soon there will be none left." Admiral Sullivan's voice cut into the channel. "Ambassador Varen, this is Admiral Kate Sullivan, commander of the Earth Fleet. We are going to get your people out of there. I need you to transmit the locations of your largest survivor groups." "Admiral, I must protest. You have maybe 12 ships. The Korath Empire has over 300 warships in this system alone. This is suicide. Ambassador, let us worry about the Korath. You focus on getting your people ready for evacuation." As Varen began transmitting coordinates for Zilani survivor locations, alarms started sounding on the human ships. 3 Korath patrol vessels had detected the Earth Fleet and were moving to intercept. "Contact from the lead Korath ship," reported Lisa Ward. "Put them through." A harsh, clicking voice filled the bridge speakers. "Unknown vessels, you have entered Korath territory without permission. Identify yourselves immediately, or you will be destroyed." Captain Morrison looked at Admiral Sullivan's image on his screen. She nodded. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are here on a humanitarian mission to evacuate civilian refugees. We demand that you cease your attacks on non-combatants immediately." The Korath response was laughter. "Humans, we have never heard of your species. You are small and weak-looking. Withdraw immediately, or we will add your ships to our collection of trophies." Admiral Sullivan activated the fleet communication channel. "All ships, battle stations. Remember, we are not here to conquer anyone. We are here to protect innocent people. Make every shot count." The 3 Korath ships approached in a standard attack formation, clearly expecting easy victory. They had never fought humans before, and they had no idea what they were facing. The Korath opened fire first, sending plasma bolts toward the ESS Defiant. The shots were accurate, but Captain Morrison had expected that. What the Korath had not expected was for the human ship to accelerate directly toward them instead of trying to dodge. "All weapons, target the lead ship," Morrison ordered. "Fire when ready." The Defiant's railgun batteries opened up, sending solid metal projectiles at incredible speed toward the Korath vessel. The alien ship's energy shields, designed to deflect, Plasma and laser weapons offered no protection against kinetic projectiles traveling at 15% of light speed. The Korath ship exploded in a bright flash. "What just happened?" the second Korath captain demanded over the radio. "How did they penetrate our shields?" "The same way they are about to penetrate yours," replied Captain Maria Lopez from the ESS Retribution as her ship's missiles locked onto the remaining Korath vessels. The second engagement lasted less than 3 minutes. When it was over, all 3 Korath ships were destroyed, and the human fleet had suffered only minor damage to the Defiant's hull plating. "Well," said Chief Engineer Ben Taylor, examining the damage reports. "That was easier than expected, but their victory had not gone unnoticed." Throughout the system, Korath ships were changing course and heading toward the location of the battle. "Admiral," reported Alex Kim, "I count 47 Korath vessels moving our way. Estimated time to intercept 23 minutes. Admiral Sullivan's voice was calm. "All ships, we have 20 minutes to start evacuating civilians before the real fight begins. Dr. Parker, take the Mercy to the coordinates Ambassador Varen provided. Start loading refugees. Captain Lopez, I want the Retribution to provide cover for the evacuation ships. Captain Morrison, the Defiant will come with me. We are going to have a conversation with the Korath fleet commander." As the human ships split up to begin their mission, Ambassador Varen watched from his command center in amazement. "Nala, are you seeing this?" Communications Officer Nala Chen nodded, staring at her screens. "Sir, I think I understand now why my species comes from a death world. They do not think like other people." "What do you mean?" "Look at what they are doing. Any other species would try to negotiate, or retreat, or call for help from the Galactic Council. The humans saw 3 Korath ships and their first instinct was to attack them head-on." Varen thought about this. "They came here knowing they were outnumbered. They came here knowing they would probably die. Why would they do such a thing? Because they think saving innocent lives is more important than their own safety," Nala replied. "On Earth, that is not unusual, it is just what humans do." Meanwhile, the ESS Mercy approached the first refugee camp on Zilani Prime's largest moon. Dr. Sam Parker could see the crude shelters built into natural caves and rocky overhangs. Thousands of Zilani civilians huddled together, many of them injured, all of them scared. "This is Dr. Sam Parker of the Earth medical vessel Mercy. We are here to evacuate you to safety. Is anyone in charge down there?" A Zilani voice responded weakly. "This is Elder Kava Min. We have 3,000 civilians here, including many wounded. But Doctor, there are Korath patrol ships in this area. It is not safe." "Elder Kava, we will handle the Korath ships. Can your people reach our landing shuttles if we set down near your position?" "Yes, but what about the other camps? There are dozens of them scattered across the system." Dr. Parker looked at her refugee transport capacity calculations. "We will get everyone. That is a promise." As the first Zilani refugees began boarding human evacuation shuttles, they could not hide their amazement. The humans were risking their lives for complete strangers. Many of the refugees had never seen aliens who looked like humans, but they understood courage when they saw it. Young Zilani survivor Kayla Venn approached Dr. Parker as she helped load wounded civilians onto medical stretchers. "Doctor, why did your people come here? We are not your species. We cannot give you anything in return." Dr. Parker smiled as she checked the life support systems on a medical transport. "Where we come from, Kayla, we learned a long time ago that if you do not help others survive, nobody survives. But you might all die trying to save us. Yes, we might. But we might succeed too. And if we do succeed, millions of innocent people get to live. That seems like good odds to us." As the evacuation continued, the main Korath fleet was approaching fast. Soon the humans would face their real test. But for now, thousands of Zilani refugees were climbing aboard human ships, heading toward safety for the first time in months. Ambassador. Varen watched the evacuation progress and felt something he had not experienced since the war began. These strange aliens from a distant death world had given him something precious, hope that his people might actually survive. The main Korath battle fleet arrived like a storm of death. 47 massive warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their dark hulls bristling with weapon systems. War Prime Guthrek commanded the fleet from his flagship, a kilometer-long dreadnought that had destroyed dozens of worlds. "So these are the humans," Guthrek said, studying the small Earth fleet on his tactical display. 12 tiny ships dare to challenge the might of the Korath Empire. They will make amusing trophies. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the enemy fleet approach from the bridge of her flagship. The numbers were worse than she had hoped. Each Korath ship was at least twice the size of her largest vessel, and they had enough firepower to destroy a planet. "Admiral," reported Navigation Officer Alex Kim. "The Korath fleet is moving to surround us. If we stay here, they will cut off our escape route." "We are not planning to escape, Commander. How is the evacuation progressing?" Dr. Sam Parker's voice came through the communication system from the refugee camp. "Admiral, we have loaded 800 Zelani civilians so far, but there are still thousands more at this location alone. I need at least 2 more hours to get everyone." "You will have it, Doctor." Captain Jake Morrison looked at the approaching enemy fleet. "Admiral, our tactical analysis shows that the Korath ships are designed for long-range combat using energy weapons. They will try to keep their distance and pound us with plasma cannons. Then we do not let them keep their distance." War Prime Guthrek opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "Unknown humans, I am War Prime Guthrek of the Korath Empire. You have interfered with our conquest and destroyed 3 of our ships. For this insult, your deaths will be slow and painful." Admiral Sullivan responded calmly. "War Prime Guthrek, I am Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have exactly 10 minutes to cease your attacks on civilian populations and begin withdrawing from this system. This is your only warning." The laughter that came through the speakers was harsh and cruel. "You think 12 primitive ships can threaten the Korath Empire? We have conquered 100 worlds. We have destroyed entire species. What makes you think your pathetic fleet can succeed where entire galactic civilizations have failed? Because we come from a world that taught us never to give up." Guthrek ended the communication and gave orders to his fleet. "All ships attack formation. Destroy the human vessels slowly. I want their crews to suffer before they die." The Korath opened fire first, sending waves of plasma bolts across space toward the human ships. The green energy beams lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. But the human ships did not behave as the Korath expected. Instead of trying to dodge the incoming fire, the ESS Defiant accelerated directly toward the enemy fleet. Captain Morrison had gambled that the Korath would not expect such a suicidal attack run. "All power to forward shields," he ordered. "We are going right through their formation." The Defiant took hit after hit from Korath plasma cannons, but the ship's armor held. As they closed the distance, Morrison gave the order to fire. Railgun rounds and kinetic missiles slammed into the nearest Korath ship at point-blank range. The alien vessel's shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, offered no protection against solid projectiles traveling at incredible speeds. The Korath ship broke apart in a series of explosions. "Impossible," War Prime Guthrek muttered. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" His tactical officer provided the answer. "Sir, they are using primitive kinetic weapons. Solid projectiles instead of energy beams. Our shields were not designed to stop such attacks." Meanwhile, Captain Maria Lopez was leading the ESS Retribution in a flanking maneuver around the Korath formation. Her ship carried the heaviest weapons in the human fleet, including experimental plasma torpedoes that Earth scientists had developed specifically for this mission. "Target their command ship," she ordered her weapons officer. "Let us see how they like being on the receiving end." The Retribution's missiles streaked across space and exploded against the hull of Guthrek's flagship. The massive Korath dreadnought shuddered under the impact, its armor cracking. But the human fleet was taking heavy damage too. The ESS Defiant's hull was breached in 3 places, and Chief Engineer Ben Taylor was working desperately to keep the life support systems running. "Captain," he reported to Morrison, "we cannot take much more of this. Hull integrity is down to 40%. How long until the evacuation is complete?" "Dr. Parker says 90 more minutes for this site alone, sir. And there are still dozens of other refugee camps throughout the system." Morrison made a decision that would have horrified any military strategist, but made perfect sense to someone from Earth. All hands prepare for ramming speed. We are going to take out their flagship. Sir? Alex Kim asked in surprise. You heard me, Commander. If we are going down, we are taking them with us. The damaged Earth ship turned toward War Prime Guthrie's massive dreadnought and accelerated to maximum speed. The Korath crew watched in disbelief as the small human vessel approached on what was clearly a suicide run. They have lost their minds, Guthrak said. No civilized species would deliberately destroy their own ship. Sir, his tactical officer, replied nervously. Perhaps these humans are not civilized. At the last moment, Captain Morrison ordered all remaining missiles fired at point-blank range. The explosions tore through the Korath flagship's hull, just as the Defiant slammed into the larger ship's engine section. Both vessels exploded in a fireball that lit up half the star system. War Prime Guthrak died, still not understanding what he had faced. The Korath Empire had fought many species over the centuries, but they had never encountered enemies who viewed their own ships as weapons, who were willing to die to protect complete strangers, or who treated acceptable losses as anything short of total defeat. The destruction of their flagship sent shockwaves through the Korath fleet. These humans fought like nothing they had ever seen. The aliens used tactics that made no sense, weapons that bypassed their defenses, and strategies that seemed designed by insane people. Commander Lisa Brooks, now in command of the surviving human ships, opened a channel to the remaining Korath vessels. Korath fleet, this is Commander Brooks of the Earth Defense Force. Your War Prime is dead. Your flagship is destroyed. You have one chance to withdraw from this system peacefully. The Korath response was to attack with renewed fury, but their formation was broken, and their morale was shattered. The death of Guthrak had thrown their command structure into chaos. As the battle continued, Dr. Sam Parker was still evacuating Zilani refugees from the surface. The wounded were loaded onto medical shuttles while families clutched their few remaining possessions. Young Kayla Venn helped carry injured civilians to the human medical teams. She had never seen beings like the humans before, but she understood that they were dying to save her people. Dr. Parker, she asked as they loaded another group of refugees, will your people be able to defeat the Korath? Dr. Parker looked up at the flashes of light in the sky where the space battle was raging. I do not know, Kayla, but I know they will not give up. Humans never give up when innocent people need help. Even if it means they all die? Especially if it means they all die. That is what makes us human. The battle in space continued for 3 more hours. The humans lost 4 more ships, but they destroyed 18 Korath vessels in return. More importantly, they had bought time for the evacuation to continue. By the end of the day, over 15,000 Zilani refugees had been rescued from the first camp alone, but there were still dozens more camps scattered throughout the system, and the Korath fleet, though damaged, was far from defeated. The real test was yet to come. The surviving human ships were damaged and running low on ammunition, while the Korath still had superior numbers. But something had changed in the balance of power. For the first time in their history, the Korath Empire had encountered an enemy that refused to be intimidated, refused to surrender, and refused to let innocent people die without a fight. Ambassador Varen, watching the battle from his hidden command center, finally understood what Nala had meant about Deathworlders. These humans did not fight like civilized species. They fought like the universe itself was trying to kill them. And they had decided to fight back. 3 days after the first battle, the human fleet had rescued over 50,000 Zilani refugees, but they were running out of time. The remaining Korath ships had regrouped under Sub-Commander Vex Malik, who was even more brutal than the dead War Prime Guthrak. Commander Lisa Brooks stood on the bridge of her damaged ship, looking at the tactical display. The human fleet was down to 7 vessels, all showing battle damage. The Korath still had 26 ships, and they had changed their tactics. They are learning, reported Lieutenant Alex Kim from the navigation station. They are staying at long range and using coordinated attacks. They know our kinetic weapons are less effective at distance. How many more refugee camps do we need to evacuate? Brooks asked. Dr. Sam Parker's voice came through the communication system from the surface of Zilani Prime. Commander, we have identified 43 more locations with survivors. That is approximately 800,000 civilians still, hiding throughout the system. Brooks closed her eyes for a moment. 800,000 lives, and they had maybe a week before their ships were too damaged to continue fighting. Suddenly, the communication board lit up with an incoming signal, but this one was not from the Zilani or the Karath. It was coming from outside the system entirely. Commander, Communications Specialist Lisa Ward called out, I am receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. Put it through. The image of Counselor Rethval appeared on the main screen. He was an Altarian, one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. His blue skin and multiple eyes gave him an imposing appearance, but his voice was nervous. Human fleet, this is Counselor Rethval of the Galactic Council. We demand that you cease your interference in Korath space immediately. Your actions are destabilizing the entire region. Commander Brooks stared at the alien diplomat. Counselor, we are conducting a humanitarian rescue mission. We are saving innocent civilians from genocide. The Korath Empire is a recognized government with legitimate territorial claims. Your presence here violates galactic law. What about the Zilani territorial claims? What about their right to exist? Counselor Rethval looked uncomfortable. The Zilani situation is regrettable, but the Council has voted to recognize Korath sovereignty over this system. You must withdraw immediately or face sanctions. Brooks felt anger rising in her chest. Let me understand this correctly, Counselor. The Galactic Council, which ignored the Zilani plea for help, is now ordering us to stop helping them? The Council prefers diplomatic solutions to military interventions. Where was your diplomatic solution when the Korath were bombing Zilani cities? Where were your negotiations when they were hunting civilians for sport? The Counselor had no answer for that. Brooks continued. We have a simple position, Counselor. We do not care about your laws, your politics, or your territorial recognitions. We care about saving innocent lives. If that violates galactic law, then galactic law is wrong. She ended the transmission before the Counselor could respond. Meanwhile, on the surface of Zilani Prime, the evacuation continued under increasingly difficult conditions. Sub-Commander Vex Malik had begun targeting the refugee camps directly, forcing the human rescue teams to work under constant bombardment. Dr. Sam Parker crouched in a damaged shelter, treating wounded Zilani children while Korath fighters screamed overhead. Young Kayla Venn helped translate for the medical team, since she had learned some basic human words over the past few days. Doctor, Kayla said as another explosion shook the ground. Why do the Korath hate us so much? We never hurt anyone. Doctor, Parker continued working on a Zilani elder who had been injured in the latest attack. Some species believe that might makes right, Kayla. They think being strong gives them the right to hurt weaker people. Is that what humans believe? No. Humans believe that being strong gives you the responsibility to protect weaker people. Above them, the space battle was reaching a critical point. Sub-Commander Vex Malik had decided to end the human interference once and for all. He gathered his remaining ships for a final assault on the refugee evacuation sites. All vessels, attack formation, he ordered. Ignore the human warships. Target their evacuation transports directly. Kill the refugees and the humans will have no reason to stay. But Vex Malik had made a crucial mistake. He did not understand what happens when you threaten human civilians, even if those civilians were not actually human. Commander Brooks watched. The Korath ships changed course toward the refugee transports. All ships intercept course. We do not let them reach the civilians. Commander, Alex Kim reported, the Korath outnumber us almost 4-1. If we engage them directly, we will be destroyed. Then we better make our destruction count for something. The final battle began as the human fleet threw themselves between the Korath ships and the helpless refugee transports. Captain Maria Lopez, commanding the damaged ESS Retribution, led the charge. All weapons, continuous fire. Make every shot count. But this time, something unexpected happened. As the human ships engaged the Korath fleet, new contacts appeared. On the tactical display, Zalani ships thought to be destroyed or hiding emerged from behind asteroids and moons throughout the system. Ambassador Varen's voice came through the communication system. "Human fleet, this is Ambassador Varen commanding the remaining Zalani Defense Force. We may not be warriors like you, but we will not hide while brave humans die protecting our people." The Zalani ships were small and lightly armed, but there were dozens of them. They had been scattered and hiding throughout the system, waiting for the right moment to act. Sub-Commander Vex Malik watched in disbelief as his tactical advantage disappeared. "Where did all these ships come from?" His tactical officer provided the answer. "Sir, they are civilian transports and cargo haulers that have been modified with weapons. The Zalani have been preparing for this battle. The combined human and Zalani fleet engaged the Korath ships in the largest space battle the system had ever seen. The humans provided the heavy firepower and aggressive tactics, while the Zalani ships used their knowledge of local space to set up ambushes and coordinate attacks. For 6 hours, the battle raged across multiple planets and moons. Ships from all 3 species fought and died in the cold vacuum of space, but gradually the tide turned against the Korath. The final moment came when Sub-Commander Vex Malik found himself facing Commander Brooks in a one-on-one duel between their flagship vessels. Both ships were heavily damaged and running low on ammunition. "Human Commander," Vex Malik transmitted, "you have fought well, but you cannot win. Even if you destroy my ship, the Korath Empire has thousands more vessels. We will return with overwhelming force." Commander Brooks thought about this for a moment. "Maybe you will. But you know what, Sub-Commander? We will be waiting for you, and next time we will not come alone." "What do you mean?" "I mean the galaxy just learned that the Zalani have friends now. Friends who do not abandon people in need. Friends who fight back against bullies. You want to continue this war? Then you will be fighting every species that believes innocent people deserve protection." For the first time since the battle began, Vex Malik felt uncertain. The humans had done something no species had ever done before. They had made the Korath Empire doubt their own invincibility. "I will give you one chance," Brooks continued. "Withdraw from this system now, and we will let you leave. Stay and we will destroy every ship you have." Sub-Commander Vex Malik looked around at his damaged fleet. More than half his ships were destroyed or crippled. The humans and Zalani were still fighting despite impossible odds. These Deathworlders had proven they would rather die than surrender. "Korath ships," he finally ordered. "Withdraw to the edge of the system. We are leaving." As the Korath fleet retreated, cheers echoed through the human and Zalani vessels. They had done the impossible. They had defeated a galactic empire through sheer determination and refusal to give up. 6 months later, Ambassador Varen stood before the Galactic Council, no longer as a desperate refugee, but as the representative of a free people. Beside him stood Ambassador Claire Wright, the first human diplomat to address the council. "The Zalani sent out a plea for aid," Wright said to the assembled delegates. "You sent sympathy. We sent ships. The difference is simple. We come from a world that taught us the strong protect the weak, or everyone dies." She paused and looked around the chamber. "The galaxy has learned a new word, Deathworlders. But more importantly, you have learned what it means when a species that evolved to never give up decides you are worth saving." The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had not just saved the Zalani. They had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. In the months that followed, other species began seeking human protection. The bullies of the galaxy discovered that their victims now had defenders who fought with the desperation of beings from a world that actively tried to kill them, but with the moral clarity of protectors rather than conquerors. The Korath Empire still existed, but they no longer expanded unchecked. Every time they threatened a peaceful species, a simple message would appear on their communication systems. Humanity is listening. And throughout the galaxy, that message brought hope to the weak and fear to those who preyed upon them.